I ask you a question, do you believe in the theory of evolution? Like in its entirety?
I think it probably has. I think it's still an evolving theory. I don't think it's concluded, so it's not a fact. But I think it's the best understanding that we have at the moment for how we reach. It's not. No, it's not. It's called the evolution. It's called the theory of evolution. So
it is also. There is a lot of. Yeah.
So there's a lot of evidence.
There's a lot of evidence though that is very tangible with regard to the theory of evolution that they can quite easily bring forward to prove it to a large.
Evolutionists don't claim to have the final answer.
No.
But they're making an effort to narrow the gap between knowing and not knowing, whereas religions, for example, say this is facts already, everyone else shut up.
Okay, now forget about religion for now, because we're just establishing something before religion, if you don't mind. Because it's interesting. The reason why I brought up the theory of evolution, I don't disagree with you that there are some evidences for some phenomena in terms of evolution, like speciation, adaptation, things like that you can actually, from a microbiological perspective, observe, But what I'm saying is, the thesis, I'm being very specific here, the thesis that human beings had a common ancestor, which was a primate, So, basically the fact that the Homo sapiens sapien, which is what we are, had a common ancestor, had a primate, to what extent do you believe in this theory or this thesis or this idea?
Like almost 100%.
I've actually visited the primate in Ethiopia in a museum, and I've seen the skeleton.
I'm wanting to know what extent you believe it,
I saw it, so I wouldn't say I believe it, like as in like I'm just making believe.
From a scale
I actually seen it.
So
99.9%.
99.9. How about yourself?
Yeah, like in the 90s.
Okay. I'm happy that you said that, because now I want to put in something else, Because the reason why I brought up the theory of evolution is because we wanted to establish something called truth claims and your standards of truth. You said that you believe in the theory of evolution, whereas before you did admit that evolution is itself evolving, Evolving. In other words, that it's changing. That the theory itself, perceptually, is actually changing from one generation to the next.
Yeah, but it's not changing. It's backwards. It's not going to be, actually we were completely wrong, and actually there's never been any evolution.
Okay. No,
it's only confirming itself and parts. The understanding of like the tree of life is growing. It's not that we're redacting back to a point where it's.
I think you're.
No. I don't know. I want to pick up on what you said. What you said. It's interesting what you say. Let me make my position clear first of all. In terms of like the scientific realities, that we can observe around us, or what the scientific method has been able to basically pick up, and the Quranic discourse or the Islamic discourse, there is nothing that I can think of that goes against the Quranic discourse except for the theory of human evolution. So that's something which is scientific, but it goes against Islam. That's clear.
It's a pretty major.
No, it's for you. It's major, right? Because you believe it's 99% true, isn't it? But what I'm saying is, there's something to this which I want to bring. What I want to flesh out right now. So you believe in the theory of evolution, but
I didn't say I believed in the theory of revolution.
So what
evolution. I said I believed in what I saw as in terms of the primate, which actually proves from a tangible perspective that evolution is actually very credible.
I want to get to the point.
My point. Use words like believe.
Okay, so what word would you like to use?
Our current understanding of how we are.
Fine. Let me use your exact terminology then. So according to you, our current understanding, of evolution is that we've evolved from a common ancestor, which is a primate.
We've evolved from many common ancestors in many.
But let's just be specific to Homo sapiens sapien, So the Homo sapiens sapien has come from another primitive ancestor, But here's my point. Here's my question now, This is my question. You said in the beginning, right, that you do not deny the fact that evolution has evolved itself, the theory.
Yeah, the theory's evolved.
So when we look at science in general, I want to make a point that when you look at science in general, if you look at something which is in the background of science called the philosophy of science, which is a very, very important part of science, because philosophy of science actually sets the kind of framework of science. And when you have contributions like the one that has been made by Karl Popper and others, this actually sets the tone for the scientific method. So, for example, the scientific method itself, you could say, has undergone a change, and the way we do science has undergone a change in the hundreds of years.
That's evolution as well.
Yeah. All right, so we're all agreeing here.
But that's no different to how like a religious theory would work. You're always if you believe in something, you're always going to preach and talk in a way that backs up that.
To be honest, my friend, I'm not talking about religion right now. I'm just talking about the theory of evolution and truth standards. Yeah, I can talk about religion later on if you want, but we'll start with the theory of evolution. Because what we have just established, the two things we've established, yeah, which I feel are contradictory, if you don't mind me saying, yeah. The first thing we've said is that science is undergoing change, and we've all agreed to it. We have evidence of this, as Thomas Kuhn has mentioned in his book, The Paradigm Shift, that actually every once in a while science undergoes an incredible paradigm shift, which actually not only changes science, but it changes the framework through which science operates. And an ample example of this is the Newtonian theory moving to Einsteinian theory from 1900s to 1905, to such an extent that people had thought that Newtonian theory was the be-all and end-all, but in 1905 or 1906, when Einstein came out with the special theory of relativity, the whole world of science, in physics in particular, was turned upside on its head, basically. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is that you've just said to me that science is 99%, or the theory of evolution, in particular human evolution, you believe it to an extent of 99%. My question is, how can you be so sure of something which you have admitted is changing? That's my question to you.
I didn't say I was so sure of it. I said I was in the 90s.
In the 90s.
What I saw. So actually, I didn't say the theory.
All right, how about you? Are you still 99% sure of it?
So the theory of our relationship to, as you called it, a primitive species, like prior to Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed that much.
Okay, that's a point here. If you don't mind me coming back and offering you some interesting points, I say no, it has changed, and I'll give you the evidences. If you look at how evolution, or the theory of evolution in general, how that is actually formalized, it's formalized usually using three different kinds of evidences. The first evidence is the fossil record. So it's a kind of archaeological evidence.
Not in the man to ape. Because the fossil record isn't relevant because...
No, they still use the fossil record. They use Lucy, and they use other fossils that they have found, and they excavated, and they mention those fossils, and they try and link them together. So the fossil record is one of the strongest evidence.
DNA.
Yeah.
It's DNA.
DNA. So DNA and RNA. Yeah. These are different things. So they look at how animals are basically formulated in the wombs of basically other animals in the genome.
A bit more complex.
But they look at this evidence. It's a genetic component. Number three, they also look at. There's another third one which I forgot actually. The point is,
it's material evidence.
Some material evidences. These
multiple.
Yeah. The major, I would say, one of the major things that the evolutionists rely upon is the fossil record. Now, if you look at what has been discovered by the fossil record, you realize that there's a massive shift. So, in other words, as you've mentioned correctly, whenever they find a new fossil, basically, they re-render the theory. Basically, the theory is reshuffled.
They question aspects of it. They don't reshuffle the entire theory.
Okay, but hold on. If we look at the discipline biology, as in a broad way, would realize actually that there are people, there are biologists that basically, like Stephen Gould, who wrote a book or wrote an essay called The Punctuated Equilibrium. Punctuated Equilibrium, he reshuffled the whole theory completely. What he said, Gould, is that instead of he basically what he said in his essay was a revolutionizing of neo-Darwinian evolution. What he said was instead of like a slow gradual change of basically one species moving into another species, etc., what you find is that there is a sudden change, and he calls it punctuated equilibrium that happens because basically of speciation or something like a sudden shift, a climate change or something that happens. So in other words, his idea is that his idea of evolution is different to the standard neo-Darwinian evolutionary idea that's propounded by people like Richard Dawkins. So, pardon? Yes, yeah. So this. Yeah. Okay. So what Gould is saying in punctuated equilibrium, it doesn't fit it does not.
It does fit evolution.
I'm not saying it doesn't fit. I'm not saying. Let me be clear. Exactly. So no, but what's your name, my friend? What's your name, my friend? Reese. Reese. Well, I want to be clear. Yeah? I'm not saying that he's against evolution. I didn't say that. I said that his understanding of evolution does not follow the narrative set by the majority of neo-Darwinian evolutionists, and that's why there had been papers that had been published between. Pardon?
It's too simple.
What is?
Even Darwin had a more complicated version of evolution than that.
Yeah, what? But are you following? Yeah, well, I'm not saying that.
But you're saying.
By the way, can I tell you something? Yeah. There's a difference between the theory of evolution as posited by Charles Darwin in The Origins of Species and the theory of evolution, which now has to take into consideration the new biological elements in microbiology. So basically, the transformation from Darwinian evolution to the post-1960s era is called neo-Darwinian. So now they've changed it to neo. So what I'm saying is that the change from Darwin's theory, there's been already a change. So you've got one change from Darwin to the neo-Darwinian evolutionary basically model, which relies more on microbiology. And now I'm saying within this neo-Darwinian theory, you have different people now questioning the validity of neo-Darwinian evolution, like Gold. Yeah. So clearly, pardon? Yeah, exactly. So now here's the ultimate question. Here's my ultimate. Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, I didn't disagree with you there. I agree with you completely. What I'm going to say to you, this is my basically my ultimate question to you. If we know that the theory of evolution is changing, we can document the change in the theory of evolution, or we can document the evolution, ironically, in the evolutionary theory. And we know that there have been rogue opinions or different opinions within the framework of neo-Darwinian evolution. And we know that the fossil record is a big part of the biologists coming to its conclusion. And we know that every once in a while, the fossil record, there's new information that is presented, which means that the neo-Darwinian evolutionary theory has to be reshuffled. If we know all of these things, my question is as follows, How do we not know? And this is my question. Actually, let me make it a different question. Can we say that there will not be a series of evidences, fossil records or otherwise, that will not discount what we know already of human evolution? Can we say that for sure, 100%?
No.
Can we not say that?
No.
So you agree with me then, yeah?
Yeah, but
on that point maybe.
But that's why I said 99.9%.
Thank you very much. So this arbitrary number of 99.9% is... No, I'll tell you why it's arbitrary. Because the reason why it's can I tell you, sorry, and this is not to put you down, my friend, because I know you're an intelligent person, and you're an intelligent person as well, and you're a third intelligent person. But the problem is this, is that when you are stuck in a sociological, snapshotted, basically, part of history, you have one idea of how science works. So, for example, if we rewind 600 years ago, but if you look at 600 years ago, the geocentric model was such... basically, it was so embedded and entrenched in people's minds and hearts, they couldn't even imagine heliocentricity, So if you ask someone 600 years ago, what do you think of heliocentricity, and do you think that geocentricity is true, and that there's a chance of it being changed into a heliocentric kind of model by people, and that will be accepted, they'll say probably 99% no. Why? Because they can't conceptualize it. Just because someone can't conceptualize something.
What's the difference between... Oh, I can't say that because you don't want to go to religion, but what's the difference between that and, the doctrine of Islam being created 1,600 years ago?
By the way,
what's to say that snapshot wasn't completely
No, what I'm saying is that, look, religion, put it to the side for now, because this discussion is about evolution.
Well, no, it's not, because the theory of evolution... The theory of evolution, you just said, is the only thing that the Quran potentially doesn't agree with.
No, in terms of the scientific method, as far as my research has gone, I've looked at basically the exegetical works of all of the... basically, I've looked at all of the Quranic ayat, or the verses that reference science, I've looked at them, and I've looked at the exegetical works of all of those verses. And I looked, and I can say something quite confidently, that almost all of the theories that we believe in today, or basically most of the science that we know of today, does not even contradict, I'm not going to say the Quran, but even what the old scholars said. So 1,350 years ago, what those scholars had said about, for example, the cosmos, there is always going to be something in that exegetical work which corresponds to today's reality. That with the exception of human evolution, which is why I'm taking an issue with human evolution, because I see there's no way of reconciling between human evolution and the Quranic narrative. So that's my honest assessment. If I said to you this, because if I was a flimsy individual that could just create parallels with everything, I would have said to you, look, the truth is, we don't have any problem with any science.
So what's the percentage that you believe that the theory of human evolution could be correct?
0%.
And now you need to tell me why.
No. I'll tell you why. The reason why is as follows.
I'd be impressed if you can.
Pardon?
I don't think it can be. That's the whole point of science.
No. Look, if I was a non-religious person with no other epistemological and ontological ontological thing informing my worldview, then I could say what you're saying. I could say, you know what?
But you could be religious and believe in evolution at the same time.
But let me just finish what I'm saying. Yeah. I would be more liberal. I would say maybe about 50%. I'd be more agnostic about it, to be honest. If I was epistemologically,
we don't have definitive facts.
No, but I'm with you. But if I was epistemologically and ontologically informed in a different way to Islam, I would be more agnostic about it, knowing what I know about the philosophy of science. But since I am epistemologically and ontologically informed by Islam, which is a religion which claims to be the ultimate truth from a God who is all wise and all knowing, and it's clear in the revelation which I believe has been sent down from God that human evolution is not true, basically, then from that angle, from a probabilistic theory, from a probabilistic perspective, I think to myself, since he's saying this, then I have to agree with this. You see what I mean? So my epistemology is informed by the Quranic discourse.
Okay, so give us that information.
What information?
The part of the Quran that disproves human evolution.
So for example, there's many verses. Chapter number 4, verse number 1. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. For example, that O humankind, fear God who has created you from one soul and created from it its partner. From one soul is implying a direct. So God created the first human being directly. Can I ask you two direct questions? Yeah. Have you been exposed to the discourse or the evidence base which aims to prove, or a way in which Islam aims to prove itself? Have you been exposed to that at all?
No.
All right. So you basically, he has, but you haven't. So I'm just speaking to you now, or will. Basically, because you haven't. So what you're missing here is that the fact that Muslims do not just believe in their religion because the book says so. There is basically the Quran and Islam by extension has a mechanism.
But you just said yourself that if you remove human evolution, then therefore the Quran the two can't work together.
What? Human evolution, the Quran? Yeah, I've said that, but that's nothing to do with what I'm saying now. I'm saying that the Quran itself has a mechanism by which and through which it aims to prove itself. If you have a certain standard of truth, you can either accept this mechanism or accept the arguments that are proposed, or reject it, and that's part of free will and having your own ability to do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
So, I think the reason why I feel like you're basically a straw man of my opinion, you're straw manning my opinion, is because what you're saying is it's different to believe in the theory of evolution, which has evidence base and records and fossil records, than to believe in religion, which doesn't have that. What I'm saying is, and this is not, we can have this conversation afterwards. No, we can have this conversation. I can expose you to the arguments that I've made over and over again in Speaker's Corner. That Islam itself has a mechanism, or has a way by which and through which it aims to prove itself. Do you understand? I'll tell you later, alright? We'll come to that. We'll put that as like a little, put it in a footnote. Oh yeah, we'll come back to it. Because I want to finish off this discussion. What I want to say to you now, for someone that says 99%, you said in the beginning of this discussion that you believe in the theory of human evolution to a degree of 99.9%. You left the 0.1% there, maybe because of the things that we've talked about before. But
it's open to change.
Yeah, so I want to ask you a direct question. Is it possible for you to claim that the theory, based on the fact that because of the problem of induction, because of the fact that you can't have all of the access to all of the fossil records, because of the fact that you cannot obtain this, it's an impossible thing to obtain, and because of the fact we know that science is changing, like paradigm shift. Based on these two realities, can you say that the theory of evolution is an absolute certain truth? Human evolution.
See, that's basically what you're doing is you're creating a question which is almost impossible for me to ask, because you're in a win-win situation where you basically
No,
You
don't want to say no because you're
No, just leave them.
I said no earlier.
So you can't.
I would say
So you can't say that evolution is a certain truth.
I would say the understanding of human evolution is, I think, pretty concrete, but is open to change.
Thank you very, very much. I will actually conclude with that, because what I feel is happening, and I'll say to you this, everyone here, I want the atheists in particular, or agnostics, or people from a non-Islamic viewpoint, to basically know something, Let me address this directly, looking at the cameras. I want you guys to know something. Science is meant to be something that is meant to humble you, because science is a way to try and understand the natural environment around you. Science is not something you're meant to be completely certain about, because science, by the scientific method in and of itself, doesn't attempt to actually bring philosophical certainty to a human being. It attempts to bring theories which you can run by for the present time and present moment. But science in general, unfortunately, it doesn't give you the grounding, it doesn't give you the ability to say that actually what we have today is true. And when you look at, and by the way, Thomas Kuhn is an interesting person who wrote about this in a book called Paradigm Shift. When you look at the history of the worlds, this becomes patently clear. If you look at the shift, as we said, from Newtonian physics to Einsteinian physics as an example, from the geocentric model to the heliocentric model as a secondary example, from the static state theory to the Big Bang as a third example. These are actual examples where people were so sure, as sure as Will is today, that those models, i.e. geocentricity, the static state, and what's the other one that I mentioned? The other one that I mentioned.
Einstein theory.
The Newtonian theory of relativity, that these were actual truths, absolute truths, that you cannot change. What I'm saying to you is that that's not what science says, it's not what science can prove, therefore be humble about science. For the atheist now, evolution has become his main bullet, his main ammunition. It's an unfortunate reality that your main thing that you're trying to prove as an atheist is something which is not a certain truth, according to the philosophy of science.
Referring to we're not talking
I'm
about...
not talking to you. Agnostic and atheists, or let's just say atheists in particular, apply a secondary double standard. Do you know what that is? They say that as theists, we have to provide evidences that satisfy a certain truth standard. We have to put forward evidences that satisfy a certain truth standard to prove God. However, what they have been able not to provide is the same kind of evidences for evolution, or human evolution in particular. Therefore, there is a double standard in the way they're applying their logic.
But I think this goes back to our conversation earlier about the fact that whether or not you could prove human evolution, it still doesn't then, like, let's say that they proved that human evolution as we understand it today was completely wrong. That still doesn't give any evidence towards a religion. All it does is disprove
I agree with you.
our scientific theory.
I do agree with you.
So what's the... I don't know what you're trying to prove by saying that our theory... If our theory is incorrect, we'll just get on with our lives and try again.
There's proof of evolution as well.
We don't have...
We have Neanderthals.
No, we talked about
So what do you say about the Neanderthals?
We talked about the fact that the Neanderthal man, which was discovered in 1973, or whatever it was discovered in, that was something which was discovered, right? And then you had another fossil which was discovered later on.
And we've done DNA that matches us with
No, hold on. I'm answering you. By the way, you're saying we're 99% similar to apes. We're 49% similar to chickens. These things have nothing. They're neither here nor there.
And 8% to fish.
Okay, so the point is, do we look like a chicken? Do we look like a chicken? I mean, do we look 50% similar to a chicken? I mean, the point is really,
that's not how evolution works. You've just discredited the entire idea of evolution by saying that if a chicken's 50% us, we should have one wing and
I'm not saying
a cock-crawl thing.
No.
That isn't how evolution
Okay, fine.
works.
What I'm not saying, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying
you can't belittle science to make your
fine.
point.
I'm just saying that by using percentages strategically, it doesn't help your argument.
If you remove
So that's what my point was.
2% of DNA from a human, we
The
would
point,
be drastically
because you can use percentages strategically, to make an argument like they do in America when they talk about the black people being unemployed and this kind of thing, and when really you think about black people are X, Y, Z. Sociologically, if you look at the statistic like for like, you realize there's something fishy about the statistic. For example, was Thomas Sowell, one of the black academics in America. They were talking about black people not being employed, in America, and they said that if you look at it, black people are X amount of time more likely not to be employed. When you look at it for like, so the black person now has got a parent who goes to university, and the white person has got a parent who goes to university, the black person is more likely to have an education, or to have a good education than the white person, or it's a very similar amount. So in other words, statistics and numbers can be manipulated by individuals. So I'm not saying that you've done that. I'm saying that some individuals do manipulate this whole thing about 99% of, we're 99% similar to apes. What I'm saying is that I can say that we're 49% similar to chickens. It doesn't actually have any meaning. Unless you are able to show.
It does.
Unfortunately. By the way, it doesn't necessitate that. Logically, it doesn't. Just because you're similar to something, it doesn't mean that you've been. Just because you're similar to something, it doesn't necessarily follow that you've been. You're an extension of it. You're a part of the evolution.
Okay, so then the conclusion is that everything was created.
It doesn't actually follow.
At the same time.
By the way, there's a leap of faith.
Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that
everything was created at the same time in kind of the same way, like from the same material.
What I'm saying for sure, no doubt, is that we believe as Muslims that that's true of human beings. And by the way, there's a logical component to this. And I'm not making the case for. Basically, I'm not trying to disprove necessarily human evolution. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you.
It's proved in Islam, though. You know that, right?
Pardon?
It's in Islam, human evolution.
Yeah, no, I'm talking. You talked about speciation, adaptation is fine, but not the fact that a primitive is another. Yeah. So the point is, what I wanted to say to you was that as it relates to human evolution now, if we talk about what we believe that the human being, in the Quran says, لَقَدْ خَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, we have certainly dignified the child of Adam. The human being is, in many, many ways, completely different from the rest of the animal kingdom. We believe that's true from a philosophical perspective, from a moral
philosophy.
Can I just finish the point?
Philosophy is.
If you don't mind me just finishing.
We reason.
No. I'm just finishing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that human beings are able to. Can I just?
I didn't say I don't care.
They care.
But let me just finish what I'm saying.
Can you reason with an animal?
Do you mind if?
No, human beings don't reason with animals.
Just let me finish.
I mean, we
Bro, stop, please. You're going to disturb the flow of the
You've
discussion.
got on the wrong end of the stick. You need to slow down. You've got on the wrong end of the stick. Yeah. I mean, we don't reason.
All right.
So
let me just.
We reason.
Not animals.
I said what I meant was.
Animals don't reason.
You know what? I'll explain my.
What we're saying
What I meant was people don't reason with animals.
That's fair enough. No, okay.
That's why let's slow down. Slow down.
I'm not even sure about that.
So what we're saying is that human beings, have differences. I mean, no one's going to refute me here. Human beings have civilizations. Animals don't have civilizations. Refute me. Human beings.
Whoa, hold on.
Civilization.
That is only based on the theory that you think that every animal is trying to evolve to become a human.
No, I'm not going to say that. But I didn't say that.
Because you're saying that the height of evolution is human civilization.
That's not true. By the way,
it has evolved as a human, but it's just evolved in a different way.
No, but hold on.
So,
excuse me, do you mind if I...
The fact that we have a civilization is just a byproduct of evolution.
Because I was making it... You stopped me in the middle of what I was saying. Because what I was saying was that human beings have civilization. Animals don't have civilization.
Not true.
Human beings have a higher level of intelligence than every other animal. That's point two. Human beings have an ability to make conscientious moral decisions that affect them and the animal kingdom.
So do animals.
Okay, that's your opinion.
Which animal?
Which animal?
What, animals don't make
One
decisions
second.
based on what's best for the
Morals.
next?
Which animal?
Well, hang on.
The monkeys
That's
have an
right.
alpha.
Hang on a minute. What he says right, but he finished by saying the human being's decision affects the animals. But and he is mostly going to close that by saying the animals' decisions don't affect us.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll agree with that.
All right, fine.
It's a little
We're
bit
in
too far.
control.
There is no doubt.
We're in control now. That's
Yeah. So the point is, my friend, is that there is no doubt that there are clear distinctions between human beings.
But that is a byproduct.
But
That isn't a reason.
If you don't mind
for
me,
our
if you don't mind me
creation.
asking, just finishing off what I was saying.
And we're very similar.
Actually, I will say something else. There are clear distinctions between the human being and the rest of the animal kingdom. Not only are these distinctions pronounced and clear for everyone to see and experience, but there are also distinctions which mean, and listen to this carefully, which mean really that it becomes very, very difficult for someone who's an evolutionist to contend, by the way, that humans needed all of this. Wait a minute, what do I mean here? The theory of evolution contends that the things that we develop or evolve are the things which are required for the survival of the human being. I'm asking a question. Why do we, all of the things I've just mentioned, the majority of them, they are not contingent. You don't need them for survival. You don't. You do not need morality for survival. You can be the biggest immoral person.
But that's just.
You don't need to be a moral person.
Even if you live alone. If you're in a community, in a society, and you carry out certain immoral actions dependent on the view of the society, you'll get yourself killed.
Not
No, I'm
necessarily.
not talking about that. No, do you mind if I
Because
just finish the point?
if there are plenty of immoral people who live a full life.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I'll say it again.
Morality, the idea that, okay, I'm going to be good to my mum, that I'm not going to have sexual intercourse with my sister. Excuse me, let me just finish. Do you mind if I just finish the point? The idea that I'm going to be good to my parents, that I'm not going to do certain bad things.
That you will be killed.
Yeah, exactly. So I think me and you are on the same page here.
You will.
The point is,
No, what? So everyone who does something immoral dies as
you don't need morality for survival.
There are certain moral acts, if you do, that affect the community.
Yeah, but you don't need it for survival from a biological perspective.
That's just community-driven rules and regulations.
We're not talking about Islam. We're talking about, my friend, we're talking about the biological perspective. From a clearly scientific, purely scientific perspective, you do not need morality, in order to survive. Now, what I'm saying, you agree with that?
No, agree.
Yeah. You don't need it. You don't need a lot of the things that we have the ability to make poetry. How's that going to help you survive? It doesn't help you survive. You don't need any of those things in order to the ability to write a play, the ability to think about philosophy deeply, the ability to think about what we're thinking about right now. These are the intellectual things that we have as human beings. We don't need them in order to survive. The point really is that
fitness, maybe.
Yeah, fitness and that kind of stuff. The point is then, so why do they exist in us? Do you see what I mean? So here we have a clear distinction between the human being and the rest of the animal kingdom.